Hello and thank you for joining Pro Surf Blog today for another episode of Epic Surf News. In this episode, I'm going to discuss a few different topics, including the WSL season and finals for 2023. We're going to discuss the Board Builders Hall of Fame in San Clemente and the Oceanside wave pool and a few other topics as well. So let's start off with the big news. It's the WSL 2023 season that came to a head, creating the Final Five for men and women from the season points. So let's give a shout out to the winners of this year's finals. That would be Caroline Marks for the women, who beat out Carissa Moore in the finals, and then it would be Filipe Toledo, who beat out Ethan Ewing. And because I have to express my bias, we will have to say that we give a shout out to Caity Simmers from Oceanside, California. For me, there was a couple things that came to mind in terms of how I feel about this competition format. As you know, the finals now is put on a single day of competition, and in the recent years it's been over at Trestles, Lower Trestles. You know, there's been a lot of dialogue out there online and in vlogs about the location. So the first thing is the event window. So typically there's, a week to 2 weeks for event windows for the World Tour events. And what I've noticed in the recent years, I guess, is that the WSL has tended to put events on closer to the beginning of the window. You know, obviously there's swell that really kind of influences when the event will be held, but obviously in that amount of time for a window, there could be several swells that come through. There could be, different days with different conditions. I just noticed this trend. I have to start to feel or believe at this time that some of this is budget-based. Obviously, if you have all that construction going on, you have all the staff there to work the event and to maintain the event, secure the event, for a longer period of time, it's going to cost more money. So if you have the event, quicker, and then you're able to, relieve the staff, that would be needed for a live event, and this, have the breakdown occur quicker, it's going to save dollars, right? So something's going on there. It doesn't seem to be all based about the conditions or the wave size. The other thing that it has come up with the event window is WSL's, being honest about trying to position their event on days that don't compete with other major world events. For example, NFL football on Sundays. So this year they had the event on a Saturday. There was talk about not competing with football, which is, probably a real concern. And at the same time, it feels really odd to be worried about football when we're talking about surfing. And the interesting thing is to be concerned about football. I mean, obviously there's viewership online for the event, but in terms of people coming to the event, the crowd size at the location, I don't really think that this really plays into it, because the way they're having it now is that if they decide to call the event on, they're going to call it on that morning. I mean, 6:30, really by 7:30, maybe even as late as 8 if they decide to push out the call. And so, anybody who's there for the event, unless they live, close by, they have already committed to that day to come down to the event and to be there before the call, right? And so, it's basically whoever shows up. And if you show up and they don't have the event, there's a greater chance that you won't be able to make it back for the following day or some other day in that window, especially probably if it's a weekday. It's a really interesting space to be in that regard. With other events being mentioned, WSL and Rip Curl also were sponsoring in a local event in San Clemente on Saturday. So in some senses, the day they decided to have the event competed with their other event, or I guess maybe helped it, in terms of once the WSL finals were over, people shuffled over to this other surfing event down the road in San Clemente. So those are the nuances there in terms of scheduling, finals day, single day of competition. There's a couple other things that I'd like to mention about the format of the competition that I think would make a big impact. So overall, right, I think we need less competitors on the CT. There's too many people to keep track of. People get eliminated. If there's a mid-season cut, I think they need to also do away with the mid-season cut. If you have the right amount of competitors, you don't need to manage a mid-season cut, right? And especially on the men's side, right? And it seems to be the way to go just for right sizing what we talk about in terms of equity or equality for women surfing. They're talking about equal pay. The math for me on a P&L on your budget accounting clearly will show that men are taking home more money as a whole, right? So maybe they're getting paid the same amount for wins, but if there's twice as many competitors for, in the men's side, then people are just making more money over there. So or there's more opportunity. So I think we need to, cut the amount of people there. And then, I think once you make it to the finals, if you've earned those points throughout the season, I think it would make more sense to put everybody on equal footing at that point. Maybe a little bit of an edge for the top point earners, but for the most part, it's all these 5 people have proven that they've been consistent throughout an entire season. So having the lowest seed person have to surf 6 different heats against 4 other people to win if they're the lowest seed just seems like unrealistic, right? And I mean, not that it couldn't happen, but it just puts things so much in the favor of the top point earners at this point, at least the top 2, that it just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. So yeah, I think those are a couple things that we could do to change how this works. I think also what people are kind of grumbling about out there is the location, lower trestles. Everybody wants to surf trestles. It's a great place. It makes you feel really good about your surfing. The wave quality there is definitely top notch. With that said, there's a lot less consequence there. There's less barrel action. And so I think that people would like to see some other locations being considered. And what I would think, which might be a little bit of work, is if they could get 3 permits for 3 different locations, for example, let's say Pipeline or Chopes. Oh, sorry, I can't say Chopes anymore. We'll just go Tahiti, make it easy, and lower trestles. If they kind of looked at all the swell models on Surfline and decided, okay, maybe Hawaii has the best swell right now, maybe Lowers does, maybe Tahiti does, then they could just put, it's only 10 people, right? With support staff and so forth. But they could probably make the move people around, fly them out, set up shop, and handle it. Again, I don't think there's as big of a crowd situation to deal with if you're going to have it on a single day. And the last part of the WSL update for you is on fantasy surfing. I played this year, set up a league, and I didn't do that great. Got 5th place in the regular season this year, as you can see there. But most of the people that I beat out either didn't choose their players for all the events or dropped out, mid-season. They didn't make the mid-season cut. And so you can see that on the season, I got to give a shout out to Surf Dog, BR Surf Stars, which is Bodie Raymond, and Surf Grom 32, Oceanside Ombre, which is Joe, and of course Kyan as well, which Kyan would have probably beat me pretty easily. I think he might have missed a pick or 2. So there you go. TheQuiverCast, he buckled. HoStevie, he buckled. A few other people there didn't quite, make it through the season. They're more like single event players out there, which makes it confusing as well with this new format. Is now they've, augmented the fantasy surfing to now have a finals score as well. It's kind of hard to figure out, okay, did I win with the finals, without the finals? The points don't really come together cumulatively. So on the finals, I did even worse on the finals, right? So the people that played there, we had 7 people that played on the finals day. I lost 7th place. And BR Surf Stars almost lost right there with me, which is surprising because he's a pretty good pick. One of our competitors, surf competitors out there. USA Surfing contender Kyan O'Rourke. He came in first. Man, he picked him. Oside Hombre second, and so on. And as you can imagine, based on my update so far, I picked Caity Simmers and Filipe Toledo to win this event. Of course, Caity didn't make it, got knocked out of the event pretty quick against Caroline Marks. And then, of course, Filipe Toledo won against Ethan Ewing. Ethan Ewing had a broken back of some sort or fractured something or other. So amazing performance by Ethan to come back and pretty much almost take the title. It was a really good surfing going on there. Filipe Toledo just seems like he's unbeatable. He is just, amazing surfer that can pull off airs in any section of the wave where there doesn't even seem to be an air section. So, and then of course his landings of those airs are so smooth and without interruption that it just seems like he is, a couple steps ahead of most of the competition at this point in history. So on to the other event, which was related in San Clemente. On the same day, it turns out, coincidentally, as the finals this year, the Rhythm and Resin Festival was held in the surf ghetto of San Clemente. And so this is a historic area where a lot of boards were built over the decades. And at this event, they put together what they're calling the first annual Board Builders Hall of Fame. So, Huntington Beach, Oceanside, Santa Cruz, all these cities have, different, events for surfing and different Hall of Fames and museums and things of that. And so San Clemente is putting themselves on the map here this year. Apparently, there was a pretty sparse crowd initially while the finals were going on. And per Phil Delgado, who is the surfing potter, if you find him on Instagram, makes some amazing pottery. He was at the event, and he told me that once the event was over, that thousands of people showed up. Maybe 10,000 people. I'm not sure how many, but quite a few, he said, filled the whole area up. He said it was great. The music was on, the vendors were on, and it was a good time. If you were there, right on, chime in the comments below. Let us know, how it was and what the experience was like. The annual Board Builders Hall of Fame portion included names both past and current people such as Dale Velzy, Brad Basham. We also have Chris McElroy, Randy Slay, Midget Smith, Herbie Fletcher, Danny Bronner, Rick James, and Jay Sparky Longley, and Terry Sennett. And there was a long list of music performers, including headliners like Missing Persons. You also had Tom Curran, surfing legend, and you had the Bent Duo, more local surf and musical talent there, along the long list of performers. So it sounds like everybody really enjoyed the music. Moving on to the next surfing topic, I want to talk about the Oceanside wave pool. So I got an email the other day from some wave pool mag or something like that, and it was talking about the wave pool's coming, and there was an update, and I live just down the street from this place, and it has gone really quiet there. There's no bulldozers, there's no action happening. It looks like a ghost town again. So I decided to talk to the city, and what they informed me is that the delays and the stoppage that it's happened at this point is due to a court date set in some litigation that's taking place. So there are environmental concerns, there are some infrastructure concerns out there that have seemed to kind of pause this development at the time. It's possible this stuff will sort itself out, and maybe this is just a short delay. But I definitely wanted to talk about the wave pool. You can see on our list of videos if you want to learn more about it. We have a little collection building there from both like town hall style meetings with citizen input, and other videos that kind of talk about the projected resort and amenities that will be at this particular location. So yeah, with fingers crossed, we'll get this wave pool and litigation will clear up. And so before we wrap up this episode, I want to give a shout out. I have this poster here from the Desi Scott Desiderio Memorial, and I'm going to put this thing up and mount it after this episode. I just want to give a shout out to Desi's family, his wife, friends and everybody. Dezzy was somebody who not only surfed well, as you can see here, but put a lot of time into building the surf community and just kind of doing some things that were a bit more selfless for surfers. And so one of the things that he put on was Camp Shred in Encinitas, and that is an amazing trade show, music event, just kind of a day at the beach. So that is something that you should look out for in the future. Scott put a lot of effort into that. Outside of that, Scott also put time into AWOW, which is an organization that helps kids with autism and other disabilities have a day of surfing, a day at the beach with their family, and they come with all the most amazing surfers that can surf big boards and have all the different certifications and just skills, next level skills to actually make that happen. And they got a bunch of people on the beach that put together a real nice situation for the families to enjoy. So we definitely want to just give that shout out there. Scott will be in our hearts. There's also an interview we did with Scott as well, so you can find that in our catalog as well if you do a little searching there. Outside of that, Surfers Healing, I want to also say thank you to Surfers Healing. They put on an event at DoHo, Doheny State Beach, just recently, and they helped our family in particular enjoy a day at the beach. And a lot of these events are made possible by sponsors, right? So obviously there's the goodwill of the people that are manning the events, but without sponsors, it would be very difficult to, kind of have consistency with these events. So I have some swag here. Double Good, caramel popcorn came into play there and brought some snacks for the families. And then we also have Live Oral Rehydration Solution. This little powder here, you mix out with some water and bam, you feel like surfing, ready to hit the lip. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to Bombers Eyewear. We got the sticker for Bombers Floating Eyewear. We got a set of glasses there, all brand new. So super awesome. I'd like to thank all those sponsors and encourage anybody who's listening to patronize these businesses if they get the opportunity. Find them online, send them a good review, that type of thing. Thank you so much. And I'd also like to update you on some of the videos that we've published in recent weeks that are on our channel available for your viewing pleasure right now. We have a collection of videos from the Coalition Longboard Surfing Contest, which includes this barrel video here where people get crunched. We got some big airs from a free surfing event, and we got a skateboarding pool music video that shows what happens when surfers show up at the skate park. And we have an interview with Uriah. This Grom is just full of stoke, so you got to check that out. We got the Caity Simmers movie premiere release party footage, so check that out and see what's popping in the surf community of Oceanside. And of course, we have an interview with Josh Hesley, who is a longboard surfer who also surfs in the Coalition contest, including the Oceanside contest that we recently got some footage of. I'd like to thank everybody for supporting this vlog, all the people that are guests on the show. We have a pipeline of people that we are hoping to get on the show, and we have returning guests that we want to get on the show as well. I really stoked on all the interest and all the people reaching out that want to be on the show. If you are trying to be on the show and you haven't been able to match up with me, please understand this is all about timing, right? Surfers are out there, first of all, trying to surf. And then trying to find times to get together to talk about surfing. Sometimes it can be a little trickier than it sounds. This is, obviously more of a hobby style situation, so I've got to get this thing going in between different life events. Of course, one major sponsor could change all this. You want to get me on here all the time on a consistent basis on some sort of schedule. We need to get a serious sponsor out there. So if you're listening and you are that sponsor, hit me up. Let's make it happen. It's probably cheaper than you think. If you're somebody who has, the ear of a sponsor, potential sponsor, let them know. Let them know, hey, man, you'd like to see this vlog more, and you would like to see them partner up and be featured as a sponsor on this vlog. Let's see if we could take this thing to the next level. And until then, get some waves, get your head dip, get your barrel, hit the lip, or just flounder and kook it. I mean, whatever your level is, do it. And we'll see you in the lineup.
Oh, Carolina, me want. I see me want. Oh, Carolina, me want.